Okay, so the next piece of this puzzle is using plugins. And plugins are helper applications that enhance the overall functionality of WordPress. And they can be used to solve a number of problems. So one of the first things, when I have a problem with something in WordPress, one of the first things I do is I look at trying to find a plugin that can help. So the WordPress plugin environment is a very rich environment. Remember that WordPress is free, and all of there are a number of features, plugins and themes that are free. There are also pro plugins as well, just as there are pro themes. But it doesn't necessarily mean just because a plugin is free that it couldn't be well built. So one of the things we have to do is learn how to evaluate plugins. And so plugins can fall into a number of different categories. Um, Shopping carts, surveys or form collection, page editors, bells and whistles, and so on. And later on, what we're going to do is we're going to look at installing a page editor called Elementor. And Elementor is a very powerful page editor. There's a number of different page editors out there, in addition to the one that comes with WordPress, which is called Gutenberg. So let's look at the plugins environment and how to install plugins, and then be aware of the fact that plugins will need to be managed on a regular basis. You'll have to go in and update plugins, just like you'll have to update your version of WordPress, update the theme on many circumstances, update the plugins, and under certain circumstances, you'll need to update the version of PHP. So if I come in here and I'm going to click share screen, and we're going to go into our WordPress dashboard, and we're going to go to plugins, and we're going to look at installed plugins. So all WordPress sites come with two plugins installed. One is called Akismet, and the idea with Akismet is that it is useful for blocking spam. And remember that WordPress's history was that it initially started as a blog software. So one of the things that happened was that you allowed people to send messages to you through your blog. And so there was a lot of capabilities to get spam. And so the Akismet software allows you to stop that. And in the beginning WordPress class, we talked about Akismet. You set up an account at Akismet, and then you're able to come back and enter an API, which allows you to manage the spam. The other one is Hello Dolly. Let's click activate. So it says this is not just a plugin. It symbolizes the hope and enthusiasm of an entire generation, summed up in 2 words, sung most famously by Louis Armstrong. Hello Dolly. When activated, you will randomly see a lyric from Hello Dolly in the upper right of your admin screen on each page. And so the people that built WordPress were jazz fans. I'm a big jazz fan myself, so they named a lot of the versions of WordPress after jazz musicians and so on. I click activate. It activates the plugin. Also, many times these plugins will need to be updated. I can click update as well. That's going to update the plugin, and then in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see that you've installed a plugin that puts lyrics in the upper right-hand corner of WordPress. That's really all that does. Now, there are a lot of other features that are much more powerful and much more useful. One is I can go back to plugins, add new, and I can search for plugins using the keyword search button right here. And I can use plugins for spam protection, for data backup. And we'll look at a couple of those. I want to look at a data backup plugin and a couple other things along the way. So that's one way to find a plugin. Another way is to go to the WordPress website and go to plugins. And what I want you to do is I want you to get used to evaluating a plugin. So let's say I want to look at wordfence. I'm going to search for the wordfence plugin. And when that plugin comes up, what I want to do is I want to evaluate it. So I look at how many installs has the plugin, how many times has it been installed. I look at the security, I look at the ratings, I look at the reviews, I look at the installation, I look at the support, and then based on that, I'll decide whether or not, I'm gonna hit the back button here, whether or not I want to download and install this plugin. Once again, there's two ways to do this. I can install the plugin directly from inside of WordPress, or I can click the download button, download the plugin to my hard drive. In this case, it's going to the downloads folder, and I click save. Wordfence is a very good plugin. It's a firewall plugin, which will prevent attacks to your WordPress site. It's going to download that plugin, and once I've downloaded it, I can go back to my add plugins. I can click the upload plugin button, choose file, go to the folder where the document is, in this case, downloads. It is a zip folder, so I have to select it, click open, and then click install now. So I can install plugins either of those ways. You can also upload plugins using an FTP console or a file manager, which is a little bit more complicated, but that also works. And then after I upload the plugin, I click activate plugin. And usually when you install a plugin, you'll see more entries or lists over here. I'm going to activate that plugin. And once that plugin is installed, it will have to be configured. Now, the good thing is that lots of times when you go to the in this case, the wordfence site, there should be some documentation that tells you how to install it, how it should be used. I personally like the ones where they have a video, and I can just scroll through that video really quickly and get an understanding of how the plugin is supposed to be configured. And lots of times what I'll do is I'll download 2 or 3 plugins that are all supposed to solve the same problem, and I'll test drive one, I'll install it, see how it runs. If I have a lot of difficulty with understanding how it works, I'll delete it. I'll just go back into the plugin folder and delete it, and then I'll install another plugin and test drive it until I find one that does what it's supposed to do and it's easy to understand and use. And so it says here I've successfully installed wordfence. And then what it's asking is where I should send security alerts. I'll put in my email address. And then do I want to be on their mailing list? I'll say no. And I'm going to agree to their terms and privacy policy, click continue. And then I have to install a key. So if you don't have one, you can purchase one. And basically, that's basically how you install the wordfence plugin, okay? We're gonna come back and do another install. The next one is gonna be with Elementor. We'll talk a little bit about some pro plugins. All right, thank you.